Hey everybody, let's chat. Today, I thought it would be a good idea to talk about a movie that I recently saw that's gotten a lot of mixed reviews. The movie was Split. Split is a movie about a man who suffers from multiple personality disorder, or if you are a psychologist, you do know that this is officially changed to dissociative identity disorder in the DSM-5. The movie portrays a young man who went through a significant trauma as a child and has suppressed it using 23 different personalities. Now, coming from a psych background, I can promise you the movie was not the best thing for a psych representation, but I thought overall the movie had a good concept. Now, to explain a little bit to you why I don't think that it was a great representation would be basically this. Dissociative identity disorder is the suppression of a trauma by creating a different identity. Now in the movie he talks about being in a room with chairs and they're all sitting in a circle and there's a chair in the center and this person sitting in the center chair is the identity that comes through. So this movie makes it sound like all of the identities kind of coerce and decide who gets to be the identity in that moment. And that's when two identities take control of the man, and those were named Dennis, and I believe the other one was Patricia, but I'm not 100% for sure. And why that's such a misinterpretation of it is the identity switch in a person that suffers from DID is not something that they control, but is usually set off by a trigger. Now, in my personal opinion, I thought the movie was very interesting. It took a lot of what everyone perceives the identity to be or the disorder to be and made a movie that would be interesting to those people. Now, it's true that you can't choose your identity when you have the disorder. You can't flip when you want to. They can't decide, oh, my time's up, I gotta go back and sit in my old chair. It doesn't work like that. But I thought for a movie, it was easier to follow with someone who doesn't have a psych background than it would be for someone who does have a psych background, because it would probably just irritate them. As a movie in a whole, I thought that it had a good flow to it. I thought that the movie itself had a great representation of what was going on and it wasn't confusing. Yes, it was kind of all over the place, but it's gonna be when you have one person playing multiple characters. The one thing I do kind of wish they would have done that they really didn't in this movie was explain the 23 characters. You're only introduced to the 23 characters technically twice in the movie, but only once do all characters come through. And you have to pay attention because it happens on a monitor. They don't show all 23 characters. But if you were to buy the movie, apparently there's some extension cut that's supposed to explain more of the characters that they just cut out of the length of this movie. I'm not 100% sure on that, but if you paused your movie right at the monitor of the computer screen, you could read all 23 names. Along with that, there is a section towards the end where the main character who is kidnapped, the character's name is Casey, says the name of the original being in the identity that was not created past the trauma. It was the actual identity of the person they were born with. And so she says the name, and at that time that person comes through, as well as you can see him like switching into the other characters. Which, in my experience and my knowledge of the psych background, it doesn't happen that way from what I've been perceived or told about. Another thing is these cases are not as normal as people in Hollywood would make them out to be. The end of this movie is kind of a throwback to an old movie, so it's kind of really confusing if you don't realize that it is. But I'm not going to tell you that movie. I'm not going to tell you anything into that. I think that's the type of thing that I don't want to give away, because if you decide to go see this movie, I don't want to give away the ending. The only thing about this movie that really kind of got to me, I guess, is there's a period where they talk about the Beast, and it's this mysterious 24th character that has intentions of coming through, and they all know it's coming. And in my mind, I was thinking to myself, every trauma and every case I've ever read that was a legitimate case of dissociative identity disorder was trauma-based, and the characters created were there to help suppress what was going on with the trauma. This Beast character didn't make sense to me because it didn't really read into anything to me, okay? The quick scene for Kevin, who is the initial identity who has created these 23 identities, is a trauma of abuse from the parents, but it's I think maybe a 15-second scene, and it's showing supposedly him under the bed and the mother yelling at him to come out holding, I think it's a hanger. So I think it's supposed to be incentive that he was beaten as a child, to be honest. And that's where his youngest suppressed identity comes from. Because I think that youngest suppressed identity was created at the time of the trauma. And then there's another identity that's a grown man. There's another identity that's a gay individual. There's another identity that's female. There's an identity, I believe there's one that has diabetes, but only the one does. And all of those are hints as to why the trauma. Now, is it confusing? Probably. You would probably have to watch it twice to make sense of it. That was the first thing out of my mouth when I saw it, was I need to see this again to probably make total sense of it. But that's okay. Sometimes it just happens in movies. Is it the best movie I've ever seen? No. But it is one movie that, like I said, I would probably purchase to own and watch again. In my opinion, I think it's one of those things where you have to take it word from yourself. So if you don't like thrillers, I wouldn't go see it. If you have a background in any form of medical, mental health, psychological field, and you feel like you're going to be insulted or be upset that something is not properly portrayed, I wouldn't go see it. But if you're a thrill seeker looking for a good time in a movie that really makes you think, I would definitely say give this one a try. In the end, I would like to say thanks again for watching this video, and I hope that you tune in next week for more videos just like this. Bye now.